For centuries the galaxy lived with a comfortable lie, a sweet illusion that humans were harmless dreamers who loved peace more than survival, explorers who preferred soft words over steel, diplomats who smiled even when insulted, and this lie became so deep that alien children in faraway star systems grew up laughing at human stories, calling them the gentle ones, while Galactic Council leaders treated Earth like background decoration, irrelevant, weak, unimportant. But the truth began to crack the moment the Grand Fleet Parade arrived, the biggest military event in the galaxy where every empire showed off its strongest ships, engines roaring like thunder, weapons glowing like miniature suns, banners stretching across the cosmos as thousands of warships formed a glittering arena of power, and alien commentators shouted with pride as the Zarian dreadnought unveiled its new planet-burner cannons. The Crow's Dominion flaunted their triple-shield destroyers, and the Seraphil Order displayed their silver-wing cruisers capable of bending light itself, each empire screaming to the stars, "Look at our strength." Yet one group stood quiet in the shadows, humanity, arriving last with only a single dull, plain, cargo-looking vessel that drifted into the parade like a forgotten machine from a scrapyard, small enough to be mistaken for a supply pod, unarmed at first glance, unremarkable in every detail, and the galaxy roared with laughter, mocking Earth openly, saying, "Did humans lose their real ship? Is this a joke? Are they delivering food?" And alien admirals smirked with cruel amusement while some younger species openly pointed at the human ship like children teasing a stranger. The Galactic Council chair leaned forward, eyes shining with arrogance, and announced loudly, "Humanity presents a cargo hauler." How fitting, and the stadium echoed with cheers and mocking applause. But the human ambassador did not speak, did not flinch, did not even blink, simply watching from behind a blank expression as if the insults were dust on metal, insignificant and temporary. What the galaxy didn't know was that humans were hiding something so old, so vast, so terrifying that even Earth's own people barely spoke of it. A secret buried beneath oceans, inside frozen moons, hidden behind digital locks sealed for generations, something humans prepared quietly while the galaxy mocked them aloud. The parade continued, warships firing show beams into the void, fighters performing impossible flips, massive dreadnoughts flexing their shields in golden waves, and every empire basked in its own pride. But then the announcer called out, "And now, the humans." And laughter rose again, cruel and sharp, cutting through the cold vacuum of space as alien holograms zoomed in on the tiny human vessel, mocking its rust-colored panels and outdated solar arrays. And one alien commentator joked, "Behold, humanity brings its mighty space dumpster," earning roars of amusement from the crowd. Still, the humans remained silent. No anger, no reply, only a calm presence that felt out of place in the storm of ridicule. And then, slowly, almost gently, like breathing out after a long-held breath, the human vessel released a faint pulse of energy. Soft, quiet, harmless-looking, barely visible even to scanners, a ripple that moved across the parade field like a small breeze brushing past giants. For the first second, no one reacted. For the second a few engineers frowned, checking their monitors. But in the third second, all hell broke loose. A Zarian battleship's engines died. A Crow's destroyer's shields collapsed. A Seraphil cruiser's weapons locked. And then everything failed. One after another, every ship in the parade went dark. Engines flickered out like candles in wind. Weapons froze mid-charge. Shields dissolved into nothing. Thousands of warships drifted silently like metal corpses in a graveyard of arrogance. Alarms screamed inside alien ships but no system responded. Officers smashed panels. Pilots slammed emergency buttons. Admirals shouted in confusion. But their mighty vessels, symbols of pride, power, and supremacy, were now helpless debris floating at the mercy of gravity. The entire galaxy gasped as the parade transformed into a scene of silent horror, the starlit arena becoming a cemetery of unresponsive giants. Even the Council flagship, the most advanced vessel in the galaxy, lay powerless, lights dimmed, engines dead, unable to move so much as an inch. And through all this chaos, the human ship remained untouched, glowing faintly, almost peacefully, like a calm observer watching storms break themselves on rocks. The Galactic Council erupted in panic. Commanders screamed across open channels. What happened? Who attacked us? Is this sabotage? While technicians shouted, There is no virus, no blast, no hack, nothing makes sense. But there was something no one wanted to accept. A strange signal, a perfect pattern, a frequency hidden inside the pulse that matched nothing in galactic databases. The human ship had scanned them. Not fired. Not attacked. Not even jammed them. It scanned them. And their systems died because they were not ready for whatever ancient, advanced, terrifying technology humanity had just revealed. When the council chair tried to speak, his voice cracked with fear. "Humans, what have you done?" But the human ambassador remained still. Calm. Unshaken. He simply said, "This was necessary." "Necessary?" the chair screamed. "You disabled thousands of ships." The human ambassador's voice dropped to a chilling softness. "No. We disabled nothing. Your systems shut themselves down. Our pulse only revealed the truth." Confusion rippled through the chamber. The ambassador continued slowly, "You call us weak because you never understood us. You call us harmless because you never saw behind the mask. You call us peaceful because we wanted to be. But you forced us here. You demanded we attend. You wanted to measure us." He gestured toward the dead fleets drifting helplessly in space. "So we allowed you to measure us." The council chamber fell silent, not out of respect but out of pure, soul-deep terror. The human ambassador stepped forward and said the words that shattered the galactic illusion forever. "We stopped hiding. That is all." The galaxy froze. The laughter died. The arrogance evaporated. For the first time in recorded history, alien empires stared at humanity not with mockery, but with fear, because if one small human ship, a vessel disguised as a cargo hauler, could paralyze the greatest fleets in the galaxy without a weapon, then what else were humans hiding? What else had they built? What else had they prepared? What else were they capable of? And as the human ship powered down its pulse, engines humming softly like a beast stretching after sleep, the ambassador whispered through the comms, "This was only the beginning." And in that moment, the galaxy fell silent. Forever. The silence after the human pulse was not normal silence. It was the kind that crushed lungs and froze blood. A silence so heavy that every alien in the council chamber felt it sinking into their bones like cold metal. The kind of silence that belonged to the moment right before a predator decided who lives and who dies. And in that suffocating quiet, the galaxy finally understood a terrifying truth. They didn't know humanity at all. Alien admirals who once laughed at humans now stared wide-eyed at their darkened screens, shock spreading across their faces as their mighty warships flickered helplessly in the void. Millions of soldiers trapped inside metal prisons, unable to move a single engine or charge a single weapon, their voices echoing through emergency channels like scared children lost in a forest. Even the Council's supreme flagship, famous for surviving 5 galactic wars, sat powerless like a disabled toy. Across the galaxy, civilians watching the parade broadcast gasped and screamed as their proud armies drifted lifelessly in space, the humiliation burning deeper than any battle defeat in history. The council chair felt his throat tighten as he stared at the lone human vessel still humming quietly in the center of the battlefield, like a small star burning in a field of dead suns. He slammed his fist down. "This is an act of war," he shouted, his voice trembling between anger and fear. But the human ambassador simply turned his head, eyes calm, posture still, expression unreadable. "If it was war," he said softly, "none of your ships would have come back online." Those words hit the council like a blade. One alien general collapsed into his chair. Another whispered, "What have we awakened?" The ambassador continued, "Your fleets are returning to power because we allowed them to." And suddenly, as if his words carried command authority beyond physics, engines across the battlefield flickered, shields hummed awake, lights reignited. Yet all systems ran weak, unstable, trembling like machines traumatized by something far beyond their comprehension. Across alien ships, engineers stared at their control panels in confusion. "Our cores aren't restarting properly. Why is the shield calibration broken? Our weapons are offline. We can't repair them." The human ambassador listened and then spoke with a chilling calmness that radiated through the chamber. "Your systems cannot handle our scan. Your technology is too fragile." The insult cut deeper than any weapon. An admiral roared, "Fragile? We are the most advanced civilization in. The ambassador stopped him with one sentence. You don't understand the scale of our restraint. Every alien froze. The lights in the chamber dimmed slightly as if the universe itself paused to listen. The ambassador stepped forward, voice low but carrying unimaginable weight. We have spent centuries preparing for something you cannot imagine. We withdrew. We stayed quiet. We let you believe we were weak. Because we hoped. You never had to see what we built. Shock rippled through the council. Built what? Someone whispered. The ambassador exhaled slowly, like someone tired of explaining truth to children. Weapons that make your dreadnoughts look like ancient toys. Gasps erupted. Engines that travel without fuel, without wormholes, without space lanes. Aliens exchanged terrified glances. Shields that turn your strongest superweapons into harmless dust. The room went silent. And armories, the ambassador continued, filled with things none of you have names for. A shiver went down every spine. Then he added the sentence that shook the galaxy's soul. We have ships you cannot see. Ships you cannot track. Ships that have been around you, watching you, for years. The chamber exploded in panic. Leaders screamed for explanations. Generals demanded answers. Security officers shouted, "Are humans spying on us?" The ambassador simply said, "We're not spying. We're preparing." Preparing for what? The council chair demanded, voice cracking. The ambassador finally lifted his eyes, and for the first time alien leaders saw something terrifying in them. Not anger. Not pride. Sadness. Deep, heavy sadness. The kind seen in someone who has witnessed something the rest of the galaxy isn't ready to believe. Preparing, he whispered, for what is coming. The chamber fell silent again. But this silence felt different. It felt like fear building its nest inside every heart. A Seraphil elder leaned forward, voice shaking. What is coming? The human ambassador didn't answer immediately. He simply looked at the hologram of the dead ships floating in space, then at the thousands of panicked eyes staring at him. And then he said the 7 words that made the entire galaxy stop breathing. This was only a warning, not a weapon. The council froze. A warning? You call this a warning? You disabled our entire parade. The ambassador nodded. Yes, because if we used anything stronger, your fleets would have vanished. A stunned hush swept the chamber. No one could speak. No one could blink. Because suddenly the truth hung in the air like a burning star. Humans had shown the smallest possible fraction of their power, and it had nearly brought the galaxy to its knees. And for the first time in millions of years, alien empires felt something they had never felt toward humans: terror. As systems continued to reboot weekly across thousands of warships, the ambassador turned to leave the chamber. Before stepping out, he paused and said one final line that would echo across the galaxy for centuries. Do not provoke us again. Because the next time we unveil our military power, there will be no parade left to watch. And with that, the humans walked out silently, leaving behind a galaxy that finally understood they had been laughing at a sleeping giant. A giant that had now opened one eye across the galaxy. Fear spread faster than light the moment the human ambassador left the council chamber, and for the first time in recorded history, empires that ruled for thousands of years felt a cold weight settle in their chests. A sinking realization that everything they believed about humans was wrong, not slightly wrong, but entirely, catastrophically wrong, because the species they mocked, disrespected, and treated like soft diplomats had just shut down thousands of warships without a single weapon, without firing a shot, without raising a shield, without even breaking a sweat, and no matter how hard the alien engineers tried to understand the pulse, their scanners failed, their computers overheated, their databases corrupted themselves in confusion. As if their technology could not even comprehend what had touched them. On battle stations across dozens of star systems, commanders replayed the footage again and again, watching in growing dread as the tiny human vessel released that soft ripple. A ripple so gentle it looked like a breath, yet strong enough to crush entire fleets. News channels across the galaxy erupted with fear and debate. Are humans dangerous? Have they been lying for centuries? Where did they get such power? But not a single broadcast found a comforting answer, because even the highest-ranking intelligence agencies discovered nothing useful. Human military archives were locked. Terran research networks were sealed. Every human file marked classified was so encrypted that even supercomputers melted trying to break them. The galaxy suddenly realized something horrifying. They never truly studied humanity. Humanity studied them. Back on the massive parade field, as crippled warships limped back to their positions, alien admirals attempted to restore order, shouting desperate commands into the void. But the crews could still feel the echo of the human pulse inside their ships, like a ghostly fingerprint etched into their systems, an invisible reminder that they had been touched by something far beyond their understanding. Even after the ships restarted, nothing felt normal. Engines hummed weaker. Shields flickered unpredictably. Weapons discharged slower. It was as if the human skin reached into the soul of every ship and whispered, "You are not ready." The humiliation burned deeply. Empires that once prided themselves on having invincible fleets now struggled to even maintain formation. The Zarian admiral, feared across galaxies, slammed his hand onto his dead console and roared, "How did the humans do this?" While a Seraphil elder whispered shakily, "This cannot be real, otherwise we are all children compared to them." But the truth, no matter how terrifying, was undeniable. Human technology wasn't just advanced. It was alien. It was impossible. It was something the galaxy had no reference for. Meanwhile, Earth remained silent, offering no explanations, no warnings, no apologies, nothing. This silence terrified the galaxy even more, because silence meant humans were not worried. Silence meant humans didn't fear retaliation. Silence meant humans were holding cards the galaxy hadn't even glimpsed yet. Entire empires held emergency meetings. Fleets repositioned themselves. Some nations even suggested forming an alliance against Earth, but their own generals refused, trembling, whispering, "If this was their weakest display, we stand no chance." Even the most powerful warlord species, the Crow's Dominion, known for launching wars over the smallest insult, refused to approach Earth. Their emperor stared at the footage for hours, his eyes narrowing as he repeated softly, "This is not human technology. This is something else. Something older." His advisors flinched. Older? But humans are young. The emperor shook his head. Young species do not collapse the systems of 1,000 warships with a whisper. Back on Earth, something else was happening, something no alien could see. In underground bunkers buried beneath continents, inside frozen bases carved into the moon, in black sites hidden beneath oceans, alarms began blinking silently in long-sealed halls. Doors older than human countries slid open. Systems that hadn't activated in centuries began humming awake, their lights flickering like ancient eyes blinking after a long sleep. Human soldiers in black armor stood in rows as emergency protocols appeared on their visors. Protocol Dawn, initialized galactic exposure, confirmed silent fleet, Phase 1 release authorized. One soldier whispered, "It's time," another responded, "We hoped this day would never come." Humans had not been hiding because they were weak. They had been hiding because they were preparing. Preparing for the day the galaxy forced their hand. Preparing for the day they would need to reveal the truth behind Earth's disappearance 200 years ago. Preparing for the return of something much worse than the Galactic Council. But the galaxy didn't know any of this yet. All they saw was the next sign. Something so terrifying it broke the last layer of denial left in alien minds as the disabled warship stabilized. A massive shadow slowly drifted out from behind Jupiter. At first, alien sensors assumed it was a moon, until it moved, until its shape unfolded, until the stars behind it disappeared, until its size dwarfed the entire battlefield. The alien broadcasts went silent as their viewers trembled. "Is that human?" A council member screamed, "Impossible. How long has that been there?" The human ambassador finally spoke through the open comms, his voice calm, cold, heavy. "You asked for a demonstration of our military power. This is still not it." The shadow behind Jupiter adjusted its position, and then the galaxy witnessed something they were not prepared for. A human Fortress-class warship. A moving continent of metal. A ship so big it looked like a floating night sky made of steel that it had no engines visible. No weapon turrets. No obvious bridge. No heat signatures. It looked dead, but the moment the council detected no energy readings, the ambassador said one more sentence: "You cannot scan what doesn't want to be scanned." And then, like a heartbeat, the giant fortress pulsed with light, alien fleets shaking in fear, council members gripping their seats, entire empires feeling their throats tighten. Every starship in the parade field instinctively backed away. The human ambassador continued in a quiet, almost sad voice, "You think we wanted this. You think we enjoy power. You think we choose war. But you left us no choice." His eyes hardened. For centuries, we hid because we knew showing our full strength would break the galaxy. He looked directly into the camera broadcasting across thousands of worlds. "And today, you made us show the first layer." The galaxy froze. Because if this was the first layer, if the small pulse was nothing, if the giant fortress ship was still not a demonstration, then what was coming next? And in that moment, as fear spread across the stars like wildfire, the galaxy finally understood the truth in its purest, most terrifying form. Humans were never weak. Humans were preparing. And now the preparation was over. The moment the human Fortress-class warship emerged from behind Jupiter, the entire galaxy seemed to stop breathing, as if the stars themselves froze mid-burn, because nothing, no empire, no military, no ancient species, had ever seen anything close to the monster that now floated silently in the void, blocking out constellations with its massive silhouette like a dark star swallowing the light around it, its surface smooth and silent, without turrets, without thrusters, without seams, without heat signatures, like a colossal ghost ship carved from the night sky itself. Alien admirals stared at their screens in disbelief, their hands trembling as they tried to calculate its size. "It's larger than our dreadnought fleet," one whispered. Another choked, This thing is a mobile fortress." The Seraphil analyst screamed, "We cannot scan it. Our sensors freeze." The Crow's Dominion warlord slammed his fist into the table, roaring, "How long has this been hiding there? How did humans build this?" But the truth was even worse. This warship hadn't just been built. It had been waiting, sleeping, watching, and the galaxy had no idea for how long. Across the parade zone, crippled alien warships backed away instinctively, even though their engines were barely functioning, their pilots moving on pure fear rather than logic, because every instinct screaming through their bodies told them the same truth. This was not a ship, this was an extinction machine. The Galactic Council chamber erupted in shouts, alarms, denials, panic, but the human ambassador didn't even look at them. He watched his species' warship rise with an emotion the aliens couldn't understand. Not pride, not arrogance, but the heavy sadness of someone forced to reveal something they hoped would never be seen. The council chair shouted, voice shaking, "What is that monstrosity?" The ambassador finally turned to face them, eyes full of quiet fury. "That," he said softly, "that is one of our defensive units." The room fell silent. "Defensive?" several shouted at once. The ambassador nodded. "Yes. That is not an attack ship. That is a wall." Not one alien could speak. A wall. A wall the size of continents. A wall built by humans while the galaxy laughed at them. Then something even more terrifying happened. The fortress ship sent a signal, one so deep and ancient that alien ships across the parade felt it inside their hulls, like a cold whisper brushing across their metal frames, the kind of whisper that made every soldier's skin crawl. Before the council could react, the human ambassador pressed a single command on a black datapad. And the fortress ship awakened. Slowly at first, like an ancient titan stretching after centuries of sleep, entire sections of its smooth surface unfolding like petals opening, revealing glowing structures hidden beneath. A lattice of shimmering plates, pulse conduits, energy crystals spinning inside magnetic rings, all humming with power so advanced it didn't look technological at all, more like something alive, something ancient, something evolved far beyond any galactic engineering. Bright blue veins of energy crawled across its surface, pulsing in time with a deep, rhythmic thrum that vibrated through space, shaking the very void around the ship. "It's alive," One alien officer whispered. No, another corrected with a trembling voice, it's worse. Then, in the vacuum of space, the fortress ship's front section slowly rotated as dozens of layered plates separated and rearranged, forming a single massive circular aperture, not a cannon barrel but a smooth, perfect ring glowing like a newborn star. Alien admirals panicked. It's charging a superweapon. Shields up. Fall back, fall back. But their commands were meaningless. Their shields barely worked, their engines ran at half power, and none of their ships could outrun whatever humanity was about to show them. Yet the human fortress didn't fire. Instead, its aperture released a pulse, soft, slow, gentle, nothing like a weapon, more like a breath. But this pulse ripped through the parade field like an invisible tide, washing over alien ships and exposing their weaknesses in real time. On Zarian dreadnoughts, armor integrity readings glitched into zero. On Seraphil cruisers, cloaking arrays shut down. On Crow's destroyers, internal reactors flickered dangerously. Entire fleets of the galaxy's strongest warships shook as if something had reached inside them, touched their cores, and whispered, "You are not ready." Aliens screamed across comms, "This is not possible. This violates physics. This is, the Crow's warlord, usually fearless, sank into his chair, voice breaking. This is God-killer technology, and while the galaxy panicked, the fortress ship remained calm, drifting like a silent mountain, its aperture closing slowly as if it had merely stretched its limbs. The human ambassador looked across the frightened aliens and said, "This is still not our military power." The chamber exploded in disbelief. What? Then what is this? What are we seeing? The ambassador walked to the center of the room, voice heavy with the weight of a species forced to reveal its secrets. "You are seeing what we built to survive." A deathly silence fell. "Survive what?" an elder asked in a whisper. The ambassador looked at them with eyes full of memories too ancient for the galaxy to understand. "Something coming," he said softly. "Something we encountered first." The council froze. "What do you mean first?" "I mean," the ambassador continued, "while you were mocking us for being peaceful, we were fighting for our existence." The room shook with gasps. But against what? The ambassador didn't answer. Instead, he pressed another command, and suddenly, space behind the fortress crackled. 1, 2, 3, then dozens, then hundreds. Human ships uncloaked. Silent, black. Thought impossible, alien admirals watched in horror as an entire hidden fleet, bigger than 5 empires combined, appeared behind the fortress like a dark tidal wave swallowing the stars. No heat signatures. No energy trails. No radar reflections. These ships had been there the entire time. Watching. Waiting. Preparing. And the galaxy had never known. The council chair collapsed into his seat. "Humans, how long have you had this fleet?" The ambassador whispered, "Long enough to be ready." "Ready for what?" And then he spoke the sentence that ruptured the last hope in the galaxy. "Ready for the enemy that destroyed our first civilization." Aliens stared in pure horror. Humans had fought extinction before. Humans had survived something the galaxy didn't even know existed. And the fortress ship was not built to fight the council. It was built to fight something worse. Then the ambassador delivered humanity's first true warning. If we are forced to reveal more, the galaxy will break. He looked at every alien leader, every trembling admiral, every silent species. "Do not push us again." And behind him, the fortress ship pulsed, like a sleeping god opening its eye across the galaxy. An ocean of fear spread like wildfire the moment the hidden human fleet uncloaked behind the fortress ship, each vessel darker than space itself, shaped like silent predators with no lights, no windows, no heat trails, only matte black armored hulls that swallowed starlight as if even light feared touching them. And the alien admirals standing in the parade field felt their hearts collapse under a pressure they couldn't explain, an instinct screaming from the oldest part of their minds. This is not a fleet, this is judgment. Billions watched through their holograms in pure silence, children clinging to parents, soldiers gripping seats, leaders gripping their own shaking hands. as the impossible human warships glided forward like shadows given form, moving without sound, without thrust, without even disturbing the dust in space, as if they weren't using engines at all but some deeper, older technology no one in the galaxy had ever studied. The council chamber was suffocating as alien leaders stared at the screens showing thousands of human vessels hovering behind the gigantic fortress like a wall of living night. Each ship a different shape but all terrifyingly smooth and perfect. No weak points, no exposed engines, no known physics, and for the first time in galactic history, powerful empires felt hopelessly small. The council chair's voice cracked. How did we not know about this? But the question felt meaningless because the real horror wasn't how humans built these ships. The horror was that humans had hidden them for centuries, hidden thousands of warships right behind the gas giants of their own solar system while the galaxy laughed at them, traded with them, insulted them, mocked their weakness. Now the truth shattered everything. Humanity had never been weak. Humanity had been preparing for something that terrified even them. The human ambassador stared at the unfolding scene with eyes full of memories that made the aliens tremble. Memories of battles no one else had witnessed. Battles fought in darkness, in silence, long before the council ever noticed Earth. The Zarian warlord whispered, "Why would you build so many ships?" But the ambassador answered with a pain that carried across the entire chamber. "Because one day, we needed them just to survive." The elders leaned forward. "Survive what?" The ambassador closed his eyes for a long moment as if remembering something painful enough to scar time itself. When he finally spoke, his voice shook, not with fear, but with grief. "A threat older than your empires. Older than your star maps. Older than the council itself." Gasps erupted. "That cannot be, we would have detected, impossible." But the ambassador cut them off with a single sentence that stabbed the galaxy in the heart. "We met them before any of you even evolved." The chamber fell dead silent. Even the air felt heavy. The ambassador continued, "They wiped out 90% of our first civilization. They consumed worlds like fire consumes dry leaves. They erased entire star systems simply because they could." The galaxy froze. The Seraphil elder whispered in horror, "Your first civilization? You mean humans had a society before?" The ambassador nodded. "Before the Earth, you know. Before the history you teach your children. Before the galaxy even noticed we existed." All across the parade field, alien ships drifted motionless, crews inside trembling as humanity revealed the truth that had been buried behind layers of peaceful smiles and diplomatic gestures. "We rebuilt ourselves," the ambassador said, voice heavy. "And while we rebuilt, we prepared. Because we knew they would return." A deep cold sank into every alien soul. The Zarian warlord slammed his fist down. "Why didn't you warn us?" The ambassador looked at him with a sadness so sharp it felt like a blade. "When we tried, you mocked us. When we asked for cooperation, you ignored us. When we asked for alliance, you laughed." Shame rippled through the chamber like a dark wave. The ambassador continued, "So we hid. We built in secret. We trained in silence. We created fleets you could not see and weapons you could not scan. We became shadows because shadows survive." Behind him, the fortress ship pulsed again, the energy rippling across its surface like a thunderstorm trapped inside metal, and the alien admirals flinched in pure terror as the hidden human fleet aligned itself. Thousands of vessels turning in a synchronized motion so perfect it looked unnatural. Each movement whisper silent and precise, like a single organism preparing to breathe after centuries of stillness. "What do you want?" the council chair stammered, his voice barely a whisper. The ambassador turned fully toward them, his face expressionless but eyes glowing with a harsh truth. "We want nothing from you." The aliens blinked. He continued, "We did not reveal our power to dominate you. We did not show our fleet to frighten you. We did this because you forced us into a corner." The chamber shook as voices rose in confusion and fear. "Forced you? We did nothing. You came to our parade with a weapon." The ambassador slammed his hand on the table, the sound echoing like thunder. "You pushed us. When your empires crossed our borders. When you blocked our colonies. When you mocked us at every summit. When you tried to intimidate us into being small." The room went silent. We were peaceful because we wanted peace, he said. We hid our strength because we hoped we never had to use it. His voice darkened. But you mistook our silence for weakness. Behind him, the human fortress dimmed, then brightened again with a deep pulse that rattled alien bones. The ambassador's next words were colder than metal drifting in deep space. So now you will see the truth you never wanted. The galaxy trembled. Because when humans unveiled their first hidden fleet, that was terrifying. But when the ambassador said the threat that destroyed us will return, that was horrifying. Yet the final words he spoke were something far worse, something that changed the galaxy forever. Everything you have seen so far, he whispered, is still only preparation, not power. The galaxy collapsed into silence, because humans weren't showing dominance. Humans were showing fear, and if a species capable of building fortress ships the size of continents was afraid of something, then whatever was coming would destroy them all. As the human ambassador's final words sank into the air like poison sinking into water, the entire galactic council chamber fell into a suffocating, crushing stillness, a silence so thick that even the whirring of ventilation systems felt too loud, because every species present, warriors, diplomats, scientists, elders, suddenly realized they were not standing before a weak, peaceful species they could bully or manipulate. They were standing before survivors of an apocalypse the galaxy never even knew happened. Survivors who rebuilt from ashes while everyone else laughed at them. Survivors who prepared not because of ambition but because of terror. Across the parade field, alien soldiers stared at the massive human fortress and the endless black fleet behind it, their bodies trembling with a primal fear older than their civilizations, a fear that whispered from their DNA, "This is what the end looks like." Even the mighty Zarian Empire, known for its cold-hearted discipline, broke into chaos as commands failed, officers shouted, and engineers cried out reports like, "Our long-range scanners are unstable. Our reactors keep flickering. Our shield generators refuse to sync." As if the human pulse earlier had left a mark inside their technology, a reminder that every piece of machinery they trusted was fragile compared to whatever humans built. But while the alien fleets scrambled in panic, the human freighter, the small, innocent-looking ship that started everything, remained motionless, floating like a quiet observer in a storm of terror. The council chair finally regained enough breath to speak, though his voice cracked with fear. "Humans, if this threat exists, why hide it from us?" The ambassador did not answer immediately. He looked out at the massive holographic view of space, his expression shadowed by memories no alien could understand. Then he spoke softly, each word heavy like falling metal. "Would you have believed us?" The room froze. The ambassador continued, "When we asked for cooperation, you mocked us. When we asked for shared research, you denied us. When we warned about dangers beyond your borders, you called us paranoid." His voice deepened. "You cannot fight an enemy you refuse to believe in." The Seraphil elder whispered, voice trembling, "What enemy? Who are they?" The ambassador's eyes darkened as if staring through time. "We called them the Voidborn." A wave of cold swept the chamber. Even the name felt wrong, like it didn't belong in mortal language. The ambassador went on, "They do not conquer. They erase. They do not invade. They consume. They do not negotiate. They silence." A trembling crow's general shouted, "Why did they attack you first?" The ambassador replied with a chilling truth. "Because we were the first to expand into their region." Confusion rippled through the chamber. "But humans never expanded far," someone protested. "Not in this era," the ambassador corrected. "But the humans you know are not the first humans." The chamber shook with gasps. "We are descendants," he said. "The children of a civilization you never saw." A Seraphil elder leaned forward, eyes wide. "You mean, humans once ruled entire star systems?" The ambassador's silence was answer enough. A Zarian admiral clutched the edge of his desk. How did you survive?" The ambassador's voice trembled for the first time. "Barely." He swallowed hard, memories flickering behind his eyes. Cities burning beneath alien skies, planets turning into silent husks, starports collapsing under black storms, children screaming as the Voidborn swallowed entire colonies into darkness. They came like shadows, he whispered. They moved without sound, without light. They destroyed our suns, starved our planets, erased our memories. They pushed us back system by system until only one world remained. The chamber held its breath. Earth, the ambassador finished softly. The last sanctuary. Aliens stared in horror. Humanity, mocked for centuries, had survived something no empire had ever faced. The council chair nearly collapsed into his seat. But, if they erased your civilization, why haven't they returned? The ambassador exhaled slowly. Because we made a deal with fate we did not understand. What deal? Someone asked. We hid, the ambassador said bitterly. We pretended to be small. We pretended to be weak. We pretended to be harmless. We buried our technology. We limited our expansion. We closed our borders. We disappeared from the star maps. His voice cracked. We let the galaxy mock us, underestimate us, ignore us, because we hoped it would keep the Voidborn from noticing us again. The entire chamber felt the air vanish from their lungs. Aliens looked at the human fleet and realized the truth. Those ships weren't built to dominate the galaxy. They were built to survive the return of something far worse. The council chair whispered with terror, "Are they coming back?" The ambassador didn't answer immediately. He slowly lifted his wrist device and tapped a command. Suddenly, the hologram in the center of the chamber flickered, showing a distant star system deep in uncharted space. At first it looked empty. Then the image sharpened, revealing twisted metal, shredded planets, and a dead star hollowed out like a rotting fruit. Gasps filled the room. This system died 3 days ago, the ambassador said quietly. 3 days. The council chair's voice broke. Who did this? The ambassador's answer was a whisper that felt like death crawling through the room. The Voidborn. Silence spread like a disease. The Seraphil elder covered her mouth. The Zarian warlord's hands shook. The crow's general dropped to his knees. Why now? Someone cried. The ambassador's next words shattered whatever hope remained. Because someone in the galaxy woke them up. A wave of cold crashed through the chamber. How do you know? The council chair whispered. Because, the ambassador said, they left a message on the dead star. The hologram zoomed into the fragmented core. Glowing symbols carved into the remains of the star pulsed on the display. The ambassador translated with a dead voice. We smelled life again. Every alien felt their blood freeze. The ambassador closed the hologram. We were hoping to reveal our power slowly, carefully, with explanation, with caution. But the council forced us into the spotlight too soon, and now it's too late to hide. He stepped forward, voice trembling with a mix of fear and fury. We are not your enemy. We are your shield. But if you keep provoking us, weakening us, distracting us, then when the Voidborn arrive, none of us will survive. Behind him, the massive human fortress thrummed like an awakening titan, and the endless black fleet formed a protective wall around Earth's system as if bracing for the coming storm. For the first time in galactic history, alien empires understood that the humans did not want dominance. They wanted time. Time to prepare. Time to fortify. Time to warn the galaxy before extinction came knocking again. And now the galaxy realized something far more terrifying than human power. Humanity was not revealing strength to intimidate them. Humanity was revealing strength because the real enemy was already on its way. The moment the human ambassador revealed the destroyed system and the Voidborn message, the entire galactic council chamber slid into a panic so deep and raw that even the oldest, coldest species felt their bones tremble. Because this was no longer a political crisis, no longer a humiliation, no longer a question of pride or power, this was survival. And every alien in the room knew it, felt it, tasted it in the back of their throats like metal and ash, and their minds couldn't escape the horrifying truth that the humans had been carrying for centuries. The galaxy was already living on borrowed time. Across the parade field, thousands of alien ships hovered silently, their engines shaky, their systems broken from the human pulse, their crews staring at the massive human fortress and the endless shadow fleet behind it with a fear that went beyond logic. beyond instinct. A fear that belonged only to prey staring at two predators at once, the one they could see, and the one coming from the dark. The Zarian warlord finally found his voice, but it came out thin, shaking. Humans, you say they erased your ancestors. How did your species escape? The ambassador looked up, his expression carved from grief and resolve. We didn't escape, he said. We hid in the ruins of our own destruction. We became ghosts. We waited for them to leave. The chamber froze as he continued. For 300 years we lived under their shadow, praying every day that they would overlook one last dying planet. A Seraphil priestess whispered, 300 years? But humans did not exist back then. The ambassador shook his head. Humans existed. You simply never knew the version that existed before. The room went dead silent, not a breath, not a voice, only the crushing sound of reality collapsing. We rebuilt ourselves from nothing, he said. From scraps. From ash. From memory. And when we rebuilt, we started preparing so our children would not die the same way our ancestors did. The Crow's general clenched his fists. But why hide from the council? Why not tell us before? The ambassador's eyes burned with a deep, tired anger. Because you would have never believed a weak species warning you about a threat older than your own civilizations. He stepped forward, voice cracking with the force of centuries of pain. We begged for unity once. We begged for research alliances. We begged for attention. You laughed in our faces. Shame washed across the chamber like a tide. Even the proudest species lowered their heads. But the ambassador wasn't finished. You thought we were peaceful because we were weak, he said. No. We were peaceful because we had seen war on a scale you cannot imagine. His voice deepened to a chilling whisper. We hide our power because power attracts the Voidborn. It makes them hungry. It makes them come. Alien leaders felt their hearts drop. The council chair stammered. Then what does this parade mean? What does your display mean? The ambassador closed his eyes for a moment, gathering the grief of 1,000 generations. It means the Voidborn felt the galaxy again. They woke up, and now they are searching. Every alien species felt something collapse inside their soul. The realization hit them like cold fire. Humanity wasn't flexing strength. Humanity was screaming for help. But the worst was yet to come. The ambassador lifted his hand and activated one final hologram. It showed a star field, gentle, quiet, peaceful, until a dark blot appeared, rippling like a shadow moving underwater. It grew, spread, expanded, consumed the stars on the display as though eating light itself. The ambassador's voice shook. This image was captured yesterday. The entire chamber erupted. Way! How close? Is this real? The ambassador answered without emotion, as if speaking hurt too much. It is close enough that we no longer have time to argue. A Zarian commander pointed at the hologram, trembling. That shadow, is that? Yes, the ambassador whispered. The Voidborn scout mass. The room spun. Some leaders couldn't breathe. Others wept openly. Humans, the species they mocked for centuries, had been fighting this nightmare alone. The council chair finally choked out, "What do they want?" The ambassador's answer broke whatever hope remained. They want silence. The room froze. He continued, silence of stars. Silence of worlds. Silence of life. They hunt activity. They hunt expansion. They hunt energy. He paused, voice heavy. They hunt noise. A sickening realization washed over the chamber. The Grand Fleet Parade had been the loudest event in galactic history. Thousands of ships. Thousands of engines. Thousands of weapon systems. All in one place. All broadcasting signals into the dark. All making noise. It wasn't just pride. It was bait. And the galaxy had walked right into it. The ambassador whispered, "You woke them. Not us." The aliens felt terror pierce their hearts. Because they knew he was right. The council chair finally broke, desperation tearing through his voice. Humans, what do we do? How do we stop them? The ambassador turned slowly, looking at the hologram of the human fortress and the endless black fleet behind it. "We can't stop them," he said. "But we can delay them." The chamber shook. "Delay?" "Yes," the ambassador said. "If we stand together. If we stop fighting each other. If you let us lead." Gasps erupted. "Lead? You want control, we want survival," the ambassador roared, slamming his hand against the podium so hard the chamber lights flickered. "Our ancestors lost because they fought alone." His voice softened. "We have one chance to fight differently." Alien leaders looked at one another, terrified, defeated, uncertain. "Why should we trust you?" someone whispered. The ambassador turned fully, eyes burning like stars crushed under grief and fire. "Because humans have already died for this galaxy once," he said. "And we will do it again if we must." The chamber fell silent. Not from fear. From respect. From something the galaxy never thought they'd feel for humanity. Reverence outside, the massive human fortress pulsed once. A warning. A promise. A heartbeat of a warrior species preparing for the second war of extinction. And every alien watching knew the truth. If the galaxy was going to survive, it would be under humanity's shield, or not at all. The moment the human ambassador finished speaking, the entire Galactic Council chamber fell into a silence so deep that even the hum of power lines felt like thunder, and every alien leader sat frozen, staring at the hologram of the approaching void-born shadow, realizing that everything they believed about their power, their fleets, their civilizations, their pride, every scrap of arrogance, meant nothing now, because they were no longer facing a political dispute or a territorial argument. They were facing extinction, and the only species who had ever survived the Voidborn was humanity, the same species they mocked, dismissed, and underestimated for generations, and the weight of that hypocrisy crushed them harder than any weapon could. On the parade field, thousands of alien warships drifted silently in the void, their crews staring at the massive human fortress and the endless black fleet behind it with a mixture of fear, reverence, and desperate hope, because for the first time ever, the galaxy understood that humans were not the weakest species in the Council. They were the only species that knew the monster in the dark, the only species that had bled under its claws, the only species who had rebuilt themselves from ruins. So ancient even their own history books had forgotten the details. And in that moment, as the hologram of the void-born shadow pulsed like a living storm, the alien leaders realized the truth that had been staring at them from the beginning. The humans did not want war. The humans wanted survival. And now the galaxy needed humanity more than humanity ever needed the galaxy. The council chair finally broke the silence with a trembling whisper. "Humans, what must we do?" The ambassador took a slow breath, his voice steady but heavy with a responsibility older than the council itself. "You must follow our lead." The chamber erupted instantly. "Impossible. Unacceptable. Humans cannot lead the galaxy," but the ambassador slammed his hand against the table so hard the floor trembled. "Then you will die," he said coldly. "Your empires. Your fleets. Your people. Your children. All of you." His voice cut through the chamber like a blade. "We are not asking because we want power. We are asking because we are the only ones who know how to fight them." The Zarian warlord shouted, "But why should we trust you?" The ambassador turned, his eyes burning with a mix of grief and fury. "Because we have already paid the price you fear." He raised his hand, and the hologram changed, showing ruined human cities from the First War, collapsed megastructures, shattered moons, burning skies, millions screaming as dark tendrils consumed their worlds. Aliens gasped, some covering their mouths, others trembling, the images drilling terror into their hearts. "We did not show you our strength to intimidate you," the ambassador said quietly. "We showed it because now you must understand the scale of what is coming." He stepped forward. "You cannot win this alone. You cannot even survive alone. Your fleets will break. Your planets will fall. Your defenses will crumble. The Voidborn do not fear you." His voice dropped to a cold whisper. "But they remember us." The Seraphil elder finally stood, her voice fragile. "What is your plan?" The ambassador looked at the hologram of the fortress ship outside, its surface glowing with deep blue pulses like a beating heart of a titan. Phase 1, he said. We activate the shield net. Confusion rippled across the chamber. Shield net. Your defenses already failed. This is madness. The ambassador lifted his wrist panel. A new image appeared, Earth's solar system, wrapped in thousands of invisible nodes spread across space, hidden deep in asteroid belts, moons, and orbital shadows. We have been building this for centuries, he said. A defensive barrier made from folded space technology that blocks void-born signatures. The aliens stared. A barrier? That big? Across an entire system? The ambassador nodded. Once activated, nothing can enter our system, nothing physical, nothing energy-based, nothing biological. The crow's general's eyes widened. Not even the void-born? For the first time, the ambassador allowed the slightest hint of hope into his tone. Not even them. But what about the rest of the galaxy? The chair asked desperately. The ambassador's answer was heavy. Phase 2. We teach you how to build your own shield nets. Gasps erupted. You would share that with us? After everything, after the mocking, after the disrespect, the ambassador looked around the chamber, his gaze firm but soft. Yes, he said, because this war is not about pride. His voice grew quiet. It is about survival. The aliens felt something shift in the air, not fear this time, but trust, shaky and unsure, but trust nonetheless. The ambassador continued, Phase 3. We unite our fleets. One command. One strategy. One purpose. The Zarian warlord swallowed hard. Under humanity's leadership. Under survival's leadership, the ambassador corrected. We will guide, but every species will fight. Every fleet will be used. Every world will contribute. He paused, then added, if we stand alone, we die alone. The room sank into deep silence. They all knew he was right. And then the ambassador activated the final hologram, one no one was prepared for. A small, blinking red dot appeared in the darkness of space. Moving, growing, approaching. This, the ambassador said quietly, is the void-born vanguard. The room erupted in gasps. Already? They are that close? How did they move so fast? The ambassador stared at the glowing dot. They are not moving fast, he said. They are moving hungry. The hologram zoomed in. The dot multiplied. 1 became 10. 10 became thousands. Thousands became a tide of darkness. The ambassador looked at the frozen, trembling leaders and delivered the final truth. They are coming. And the only reason you are still alive, his voice dropped to a chilling whisper, is because humanity woke up first. He deactivated the hologram. The lights dimmed. The chamber trembled. Decide now, he said. Stand with us. The windows behind him showed the fortress ship pulsing, the hidden human fleet tightening formation, Earth itself glowing with shield preparation energy. Or fall alone. The council chair stood slowly, tears in his eyes. We stand with humanity. One by one, the empires rose. The galaxy rose. All of them outside. The fortress ship released a thunderous pulse that echoed across space like a war drum awakening the stars. The second war for existence had begun. And this time, humanity would not fight alone.